Hello and good evening to everybody. On behalf of Prabha Khaitan Foundation, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you and to another interesting and interactive session of Muskan, an initiative of Prabha Khaitan Foundation and Education for All Trust, presented by Sri Cement Limited. Today's session is in association with Worldwide Fund for Nature. Prabha Khaitan Foundation is an organization based in Kolkata, founded by late Dr. Prabha Khaitan. The foundation is dedicated to promote performing arts, culture, education, literature, gender equality, and women's empowerment. The foundation's latest initiative, Muskan, aims at popularizing heritage literature and culture among young children and young adults by weaving it into formal and informal education through student activities. Some of the ways developed to do this are cultural programs, storytelling sessions, theater, dance, music, and art, which are organized via collaborations with our national and international associations and institutes, both pan-India and overseas. Today, we have amongst us Ms. Natasha Ballal. Natasha Ballal is a conservation educator. She has completed her master's in wildlife biology and environmental science. She has worked as a nature educator and as a researcher, assessing human-wildlife conflict, and has always worked at the intersection of people and wildlife. She has worked over a decade in conservation, creating awareness and educating different target groups on the environment and wildlife, especially focusing on its conservation. She works with Worldwide Fund for Nature as a senior education officer and strongly believes in that in the end, we will conserve only what we love, we will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. She hopes to inspire people to connect to the natural world and contribute towards creating a positive impact. I believe today's young generation understands the importance of conservation and would enjoy the session. So without taking any more time, I welcome Ms. Ballal on this platform and ask my young friends to get ready for a very, very interesting and interactive session. Welcome, Ms.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. It's wonderful to be here and be a part of this exciting session. I hope you enjoy everything that I do kind of connect with you and talk to you about. We can have it as a fun interactive session. I will be speaking through a few of the species in India, and I thought I'll just highlight a few because wildlife conservation is such a vast topic and there's so much to talk about, and conservation has so many intersections, so I just thought I'd just keep to a few species and interact about that, and then we can always have a fun quiz at the end. Okay, so can I share my screen? Right, can everybody view my screen? Right, everybody can view my screen, right? No problem.
Yeah, we can see.
Perfect. Okay, so in this, what we're going to talk about is this is from the picture. If you just look this, all the species that we have. So I just wanted to introduce what biodiversity is, what is species, subspecies. I'm sure you're all very well aware. Just before we go in and learn about our species. So what is biodiversity? Biodiversity is a variety of life. So as I was talking about, this is what biodiversity is. And, just before we go into that, I also wanted to discuss what WWF does. So WWF's mission is to work alongside our natural ecosystem services and come back to that. Okay, I'll just play a small video that kind of talks about biodiversity. Yeah. Can you all hear it?
No, the sound is not coming.
Of different individuals,
Now is it audible?
Yes, yes.
the trillions of different characteristics they all have. The total biodiversity of our planet is immense.
I think somebody's annotating. Could you kindly, I'm just going to kindly.
Which is a good thing, because the more biodiversity, the more secure all life on Earth is, including ourselves. Only when life is at its most varied, vigorous, biodiverse, can we hope to thrive. We may not know it, but we need towering forests across 1/3 of the land surface to lock away carbon and keep the climate stable. We need millions of pollinators and billions of soil organisms and megatons of plankton to keep the food we eat in supply. We need strange plants deep in jungles to create our medicines, and coral reefs and mangrove swamps to protect the coasts we depend upon. Our planet's biodiversity provides all the things we need for free. But it will only do so if there's lots of it, and at the moment it's under attack. In the last 50 years, our activities have dramatically reduced by...
I'm sorry, I think there's a lot of annotation happening. I'm just going to clear all drawing. Can we make sure that they're not able to annotate? Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Because, yeah. Because it's a bit, yeah. I'm just going to disable it. I have disabled it. I hope. Disable. Yeah, I'll just go back to playing it.
Biodiversity across the globe. We've snuffed out habitats, reduced populations of wild animals by 60%, and even driven whole species extinct. The number of lions in Africa has dropped by 65%. The number of individual flying insects in Europe has dropped by 75%. The number of bluefin tuna in the Pacific has dropped by 95%. Biodiversity is dropping everywhere and fast. This is catastrophic for nature and therefore ourselves. We talk about climate change a lot, but biodiversity loss is as important an issue. How do we stop this loss of life? How do we ensure that biodiversity, our planet's vital statistic, begins to increase again? In fact, we already know exactly what to do.
Right. So I think this is a great video to kind of talk to you about what biodiversity is and show you a visual treat, to kind of look at the various life forms that we have. And it is a serious issue that we are looking at with biodiversity loss. So it's very important to have species and subspecies because there's a lot of genetic transfer between these populations. And that's the only way we're going to have a very healthy wildlife population. So as you all know, India is a mega diverse country. We have biological hotspots in India. There are totally 56 biological hotspots and 4 are in India. Okay. Anybody would like to put in their chat box, what are the 4 mega diverse hotspots in India? Anybody? I can see the chat box. You can just type it in if you are aware what anybody has any idea. Okay, so we'll go ahead. So we have 4 hotspots. One is the Indo-Burma region, one is the Sundaland, the other one is the Western Ghats and the Himalayan hotspot. Okay, and these biological hotspots that we call it, why are they known is because they have a very high level of endemism as well as biological diversity, and they've lost more than 70% over the last decade. So hence you call them the biological hotspots, right? So they have a high species of plants, insects, reptiles, amphibians, and birds. You have mammals. These are the various mammals that we have. If you can also guess, you can see the snow leopard on top. You can see the little Ganges River dolphin. If you can look, this is a Ganges River dolphin. Then you have the fishing cat. Then we have the Malabar giant squirrel, the wild dog, and we also have, if you've heard about it, it's called the lion-tailed macaque. So these all are very endemic species, and you don't find them anywhere else in the world. Okay, so hence this biological diversity and hotspots is because of the high level of endemism. That means you don't find it anywhere else in the world except these few places. Okay, and that's the lion-tailed macaque. Now let's come to which is the most famous big cat in India and is also our national symbol, our national animal. And anyone has any guesses? Anybody has any guesses? You can unmute yourselves and let me know too. Anybody?
They're writing in the chat box actually.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, it's none other than our Royal Bengal tiger. Right. Okay. So this Royal Bengal tiger, it's found across 19 different states in India. It also, India has about 70% of the world's tigers. We do have subspecies of tigers. That means they have a genetic and a physical difference. Hence, we have subspecies. Okay. And right now we have 6 subspecies presently, which are surviving. Okay. And when we protect a forest with a large number of tigers, we call it the tiger reserves. Okay. And I'm sure all of you have been to tiger reserves. Am I right? Yes. Okay. Even if you haven't been, don't worry. You can always virtually, explore these biodiversity places. Okay. So if you look at a tiger, it's always a stunning, beautiful orange, coated mammal. It's absolutely gorgeous. Okay. And even though they're so gorgeous and they're like orange in color, you not necessarily, get to view them so visibly when you visit a tiger reserve or a wildlife sanctuary. It's very difficult to spot them. Their coat is so well camouflaged with their environment. Okay. And if you look at a tiger, it always captivates you. You always go like, oh my gosh, it's a gorgeous mammal. So this tiger right now, how did it get its name? It got its name from an old Greek word called tigris, also as an old Persian word, which meant arrow. Okay. Unwavering focus. That's how a tiger attacks. So hence, that's how tigris came into being. Okay. That's why we have this Panthera tigris in its scientific name. So tigers use their distinctive coats as camouflage, as I said. Okay. And no 2 tigers have the same stripes. They never have it. They all are very unique. Okay. And that's how when you study tigers or when we learn more about tigers and their conservation, this is like a human fingerprint. Okay. And we have technology that helps us today to study these tigers and also gain perspective on how we can save their species. Okay. Tigers see 6 times better in the night, better than we do. Hence, one of their strongest senses is hearing as well as their sight. Okay. And baby tigers are always born blind and can see only after 6 to 14 days. I'm sure if you had a little kitten at home and you've seen a mother cat give birth, this is how even our domestic cats are. Okay. So tigers are mammals belonging to the big cats. Okay. They usually use stealth when they ambush and attack their prey. They are opportunistic hunters. So you never see a tiger walking up, it always calculates precision and it attacks. Okay. And what do they use when they catch their prey? They use their claws, right? Their sharp claws and also their teeth. So they usually go for the vein. Okay. And also their tongue is dangerous. Why do we say it? Is because it's extremely rough and pokey. Okay. So hence it is very dangerous. As I said, tigers are found in different states in India, and it's over 19 different states, and India has the largest population. And another point to note is we have 52 tiger reserves in India. So that's a great thing that we have to be aware of. I'll just show a video of this tiger. You can see it walking very majestically. This was taken in around Kanha National Park. It's just the roar. So if you look at big cats, they always use vocal as a form of communication. So a tiger usually roars when it's during the mating time, but otherwise they're always solitary. You never usually see them together. Okay, but during the mating season, they come together, a male and a female, and this is what a male usually does during that time. So if you see, this is how this tiger is communicating. It's the male tiger calling out to a female tiger. But they also use various forms of communication. So usually sometimes you see the tiger with its tongue sticking out. So that's called a phlegm response. It's trying to get in the pheromones in the around them to kind of distinguish where the female is from. Okay. Also, they spray to mark their territory, and also you see them, scratching their claws on barks. So all is a sign of communication for a tiger. Okay. Yes. So that is one big cat that we learned. Another big cat that we do see in this, okay, is the common leopard. Now, the common leopard, a lot of people usually get confused. You have a black one and then this, but a black panther, which we also call, is nothing but a common leopard. So I will show you two videos to kind of go over it. Okay. And they're one of the most adaptable cats. Okay, compared to a tiger, they are very adaptable. Leopards are found in human-dominated landscapes. So sometimes, for example, they can be very close to human landscape. If you look at Mumbai, you usually find leopards in Sanjay Gandhi National Park and very close. So they live in very close proximity with humans. They're very adaptable. Okay, and they are listed as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List. Now, what is IUCN? Can anybody let me know? Are you aware of what IUCN is? You can put in the chat section. I'll just have a look. Okay. Anybody else would like to just let me know? What would it be? Very good. International Union for Conservation of Nature. Yes, that's exactly right. That's what IUCN stands for. And when you look at IUCN, they usually have this list, okay, where they kind of talk about endangered, vulnerable species, and then, least concern. So they have a selection range. So depending on the number and the species and their distribution, we categorize it in the IUCN Red List. So in that, the leopard is a vulnerable population. Okay, I will show you the video on the left side. It is of a black panther, which is also a common leopard. Okay, you can see it. This is through camera traps. So as I said, when we talk about cats and how do we study them, it's important to understand that researchers use this form of technology called camera trapping. So they keep the camera at the height of the animal. Okay, and so when the animal crosses by, it senses and it takes pictures or videos. So you can look at the one. I think one more great thing from this video, if you can see a camera trap right here, and also the leopard, which seems to be curious about the camera trap, it's heading towards it. So camera traps usually placed on both sides of the tree, and that's how it captures. It's like a sensor, so when the animal passes, it catches the motion, right? So this is just a video to show you about how, when researchers are studying in the field, this is how they lay these camera traps and which get the information that is needed. So this is a beautiful picture that was taken in the Western Ghats somewhere around 2010. And if you look at this, you can see a leopard and a black leopard, both of them, just the coloration is different, which was a mating pair. Okay, and anybody is aware of what is this? Why do they become darker in color? What is the reason? Anybody can let me know. Just put it in the chat box. Why do they become, darker in color? Is it a mutation, or what is it? Because of heat. Okay, anybody else? Why do you think that? Why is that? Anybody else? Okay. So this is, yeah. So basically what happens is, so this, it's a recessive mutation gene, okay? There's a recessive gene which gives this dark coloration, okay? And this usually is better for leopards that are in tropical landscapes and in forests, because it's a darker, tropical forests are more darker, not much sunlight reaches the forest floor. Hence, this kind of coloration gives it a better camouflage advantage, right? So that's why this recessive gene is there. Okay, so this is called as, yes, this is the pigment. This is known as melanistic. Melanistic leopards is what we call them. Okay, so the dark coloration is due to the excess of a pigment called melanin. Because there's a high amount of it, this melanin is what makes it melanistic and gives it the darker color. Okay, that's why darker individuals are known as melanistic leopards. Okay, and only when two black panthers or these leopards, darker colored leopards mate, is when you get all the litter being black. Okay, if not, for example, like this pair, then what happens is you will have maybe one, because it's a recessive gene, right? It's not a dominant gene. So hence you can have one black cub in the midst of the normal colored leopards. Okay, so that's why in a lot of tropical rainforests, like in Karnataka, we have Bhadra, we have Dandeli, and now we have in Kabani, which has recorded these black panthers, the leopards. Okay, so remember, they're not a subspecies, but they're just the same species, which just have a higher amount of melanin. Okay, in this same breath that we talk about this, everybody has seen a white tiger, right? And we usually confuse it being an albino tiger. Am I right? When you go to zoos, it's a very common thing that we see, like a white peacock, or you see it, and it's always like this fancy attraction, right? So what do you know what this could be? Is it again, is it a recessive gene mutation? What is it? Or is it just, a special subspecies of a tiger? You can just put it in the chat box. Right, it's a very important point. It's in, yeah, it's not an albino because its eyes aren't red. Right. Anybody else? Yes, it's a white tiger. You think it's a subspecies, or you think it's a species, or what is it? Or it's just like how you talk about, a black panther. Right. Very nice. So the thing is that a few of you have got it right. It is not a subspecies. It's nothing but a tiger, again, which has recessive gene, which does not allow the high amount of melanin to be produced. So hence they do have the markings, but their coloration is white. Okay, and this is known as leukism. Okay, so this is leukism. Okay, it's a partial loss of that pigment melanin. So hence they don't have it. As pointed out, they don't have red eyes. So when an animal is born as an albino, you will usually see there's no pigmentation. It would just be white with a red eye. Okay, but here, if you look at this tiger, it has the markings, it has the bluish eyes. So that's why this is known as leukism. Okay, this is leukistic. This individual is known as leukistic. Okay, so the two important things to note: one is the loss of it, and one is the higher amount of it, which creates this different coloring of the coat. Okay, so that's, we spoke about the tiger, and now we spoke about a common leopard, and also about our all the time famous the black panther, which is nothing but a leopard. And then I also wanted to talk about another big cat species. Okay, so today my talk kind of focuses on these cat family. Okay, so I'm sure you all know the Asiatic lion is only found in one place in India. Okay, it was extensively found historically, it was, but today it only is in the Gir forest of Gujarat, and that's where it is. So in this atlas, you know exactly where they are from. Okay. Now, compared to a tiger and a leopard, which is a solitary being, unless, during the time of mating, the lion is a social animal, okay? And they live in groups, pride of lions, as we call it, okay? And as I said, the only place we find this now is the Asiatic lion in the whole world is in the Gir forest of Gujarat, okay? So let's learn a little bit about them. Asiatic lions are much more smaller than their African counterparts. Okay, they're unique. Even a tiger is a large cat than a lion. Okay, the male Asiatic lion has relatively short, sparse, and darker mane. Okay, they're not that full. Like if you look at an African lion, it just looks so majestic, but they do look majestic, but it's a much more a smaller. Okay, they don't have that large mane. And their roar basically is just to warn and chase off animals that come on their turf. Okay, that's their way of communication. And sometimes the roar can be heard really far away, more than 5 miles away, and this is all to mark their territories. I've said. Again, they also look at their claws scratching. This is very typical of the cat family, where they kind of scratch their claws on the trees, the barks. Then they have their spring, and then they have this form of communication, right? And female lions are the pride's family hunters, right? This also stays the same with the African counterparts. So it's very important that we realize this Asiatic lion is so important because they're the last in their entire world, and they're found in a very small geographic place. So it's important to make sure that we do have a viable population to continue into the future. Okay, each animal faces their own difficulties. Now, with our Asiatic lion, if you look at conservation, it's very difficult because they are already inbred, because it's such a small population, is such a small area. Okay, so they face hunting a little bit, but they also face a lot of diseases which come from cattle. Okay, so these are the main threats that they do face, hence they're very vulnerable. Now, the ghosts of the mountains. Okay, we all have a big cat which is called the ghost of the mountains. And where can you find it? Can we, write it down for me? Where can you find this ghost of the mountains? Is it in the Western Ghats? Where could it be? Anybody would like to put that down? Yes, that's extremely right. Very good. So we have the snow leopards, and they're found in the entire Himalayan ranges, right? So if you look at this, so that's where we find our snow leopard. Okay, we also share a territory across these different regions. The snow leopard, I think, is a very adorable looking cat, right? When you look at it, you just go, oh, like it's just so absolutely squishy and adorable. So this is one of the world's most endangered cats, okay, and also elusive cats. As a researcher, if you're going out in the field, it's very difficult to see them. They are so, they camouflage so well with the environment. It could be so close to you, but you would never see it. And they're very elusive. It's not very difficult. It's very difficult to go behind them and kind of, study them and observe their behavior. It's extremely, extremely difficult. And they have this thick fur that is well insulated that keeps them warm during the cold weather, because they're found in such harsh weather. So if you look at this, you can look at this beautiful snow leopard that is just sitting and then it walks off, right? So this is all through camera trap. That's why camera trap is such an advanced technology that we have, which really kind of helps us understand the species, because researchers have found it very difficult, to kind of have them. Snow leopards, they have a very different, they don't have a roar, okay, but they have a piercing yowl, okay? They are not very vocal like that. And until very recently, they hadn't caught it on tape, how they communicate, through vocally. And it's wonderful that through camera trap, they were able to, get an audio and a video of this beautiful animal kind of making a very different sound, which I will show you. Now, they face immense habitat threats because there's habitat loss happening. There's a lot of loss of prey in the Himalayan region, right? There's poaching for the illegal trade. As I said, we share the border with many countries, and there's a lot of illegal trade that happens. Okay, and there's also retaliation killing. So in conservation, it is always people also is extremely important in conservation when you work in conservation. Okay, where animals and people always coexist, and we have to learn kind of how to balance it out. So sometimes when these animals do end up killing cattle, they do poison the cattle, which in turn poisons our snow leopards and, creates that very unhealthy coexistence between them. So hence they have faced immense amount of challenges. So this is this is the video that I said was very recently, kind of shared with the rest of the world, where it captured this very different kind of call of a snow leopard.
A camera placed in northern Pakistan's Karakoram Mountains recently captured incredibly rare footage of a snow leopard's call in the wild. While some cats meow and others roar, The video shows the snow leopard letting out a sound that's a cross between a yelp and a howl. The White Lion Foundation, which released the footage, notes that getting the animals on camera in general is extremely difficult, as they tend to be incredibly solitary sorts and are very good at eluding researchers. The foundation's director commented, "In these challenging times, it lifts our collective spirits to see such unique and wonderful footage of the forever beautiful snow leopard."
So that's very interesting. It has a very different, as I said, like yelp, right? This is one thing that was recorded recently and just shared with the rest of the world. So another interesting fact about snow leopards is they use their hind legs to climb 6 times, their height. So they can jump so high because of their hind legs. So now let's go into the role of predators. Okay, I can talk about all the animals, but I had to condense it and choose only a few species. Please bear with that. So let's look at the role of predators in ecosystem, right? So when we look at tigers and big cats, they play a very good role in the ecosystem. They are keystone species, we also note them and call them, right? So when we protect the tiger, we protect the forest. Why? Because they keep the prey numbers in check. So it's very important to note. If you can see this picture very pictorially shows one tiger which will have a large prey base, okay, when it keeps the forest healthy through their hunting, right? So this is how we have the tiger. And when we also say the tiger, we save the entire landscape because all the reptiles, the amphibians, the bird species, everything is safe. Okay, because tigers require a larger area. Now we kind of learned about a few of the big cats. Can anybody tell me which is the smallest cat in the world? You can just put it down. Anybody tell me which is the smallest cat in the world? Has anybody heard it? Which is the smallest cat in the world? Wonderful. I hope you didn't Google it, but that's wonderful. If you know about it, wonderful. Very nice. Excellent. Yes, it is the rusty spotted cat. It's a very, very tiny cat. It's hardly 1.4, kgs, and it's really small and cute and cuddly. Okay. You can have a look at this video, which will again show you this cute little animal that was again recorded. As I said, camera traps was one of those really great technologies that we have today, which kind of we're able to see their world. Very adorable looking cat. That's the smallest cat in the world. Okay, as I said, it's hardly 1.4 kg. So it's very elusive also. For a long time, not many researchers saw this. But now, through different kind of studies and through non-invasive technology, we're able to kind of record their behavior as well as know where they're present. Okay. Yes, it's very cute. Right. So we have gone, through looking at our mammals, and also another very, very important mammal that nobody knows that we have. Can you guess what it is? We call it the little panda in India. Can you name what this is? I'd love for you, if all of you all know about it. Yes. Anybody else? Wonderful. Yes, it's a red panda, right? It's this gorgeous, gorgeous looking red kind of foxy look that it has. It's called the red panda. Okay, and this is how it looks. So again, it's also very elusive, and they're heavily threatened by habitat loss, poaching. Okay, so these are one of the 2 main drivers for their status, which we have. Okay, which is endangered. So both the pandas love, to eat. So if you look at this, the origin of this panda is from the Nepalese word Nikalaya Ponya, which means eater of bamboo. Okay, just like our panda logo that WW has. And they have an extended wrist bone, if you can see, and they're arboreal. You always find them up in the trees. Okay, they love to sleep, and they have this flaming red fur and a very bushy tail. They have their own unique family called Iluridia. Okay, so you have different, in our species, we have different families like family Pledia, then genus. The same way, they have their own unique family name, right? So you get them in a very small space, right? And where is it? They're only found in 3 states in India, okay? And can you name them from the map? Can anybody write it down before we go into it? I'll just wait in the chat box. I can have a look. Yes, Arunachal. Anybody else? West Bengal. Sikkim. Very nice. Yeah, everybody seems to be, great wildlife conservationists already. That is right. Right. It's the state animal of Sikkim. Okay. That is right. You're very right. That's where it's found in Arunachal, Sikkim, in the West Bengal. Right. Right. So this is what I want to kind of talk to you about it, and this is what I kind of focused upon as species. And when we come into looking at climate change today, biodiversity loss, all these are very words that is easily used these days, and also this is where we are facing our challenges. So WWF came up with this report called Our Planet's Report Card, and in this, the Living Planet report, it kind of showed what kind of destruction has happened over the last few years. So, it kind of took into camera traps, GS targets, citizen science initiative, satellite imagery, and it came out with this. It said that globally, the average population size of mammals, reptiles, fishes have declined by 68%. Okay, if you look at freshwater, by 84% it has declined. Our oceans have also declined by more than 10%. Okay, if you look at it, there's a huge decrease in populations across wetlands as well as our oceans. Then if you look at the globally, 90% have lost the wetlands, and that's a huge, huge number. If you look at food we produce around the world, there's 1/3 of the food we produce around the world, which weight is never eaten, it's wasted, right? So much of food waste is there. And the Living Planet report kind of showed that nature is declining. And if we don't wake up, and we have to wake up today, right? We have no choice about it. We are causing such damage. We need nature. There's no doubt about it. We have to kind of realize that without nature, we will not have an economy, we will not have our security, right? Whether it's food security or our ecosystem services, nature provides us with everything. And this is extremely important to know. If we assume and if we take nature for advantage, we're already knowing what kind of losses we have, right? So coming to what you can do. I think today it was just kind of like a briefing into what the world and the biodiversity of India is, but also what can we all collectively do. So sometimes there are certain things this Living Planet report also showed is stop doing it if you do not want to do it. Do that one thing less. Like, for example, you go shopping, don't buy 10 clothes, right? Just buy what you really need and find new ways to do the same thing. Sometimes there might be alternative ways of doing it. So you can always choose alternative resources, right? So if you look at this, I hope you know what single-use plastics are. It has only one single use, and then after you will discard it. For example, the straw, right? So don't use a straw. Either you drink through directly, or you can have a metal straw, which would be another great alternative. There are bamboo straws, because plastic is such a destructive material, okay? Because a lot of it doesn't go into recycling, right? Check your energy consumption at home or in your office, wherever you are. We have to be energy efficient. We have to reduce the pollution that goes into our wastewater, as well as a lot of the plastic pollution, or even our pollution through waterways. It can be recycled. And that's extremely important to know. We need to recycle at these steps. And don't be a water waster. Okay, a lot of your fresh water comes from tiger reserves. Whether we like it or not, all the tiger reserves are dammed. And that's where most of the water comes to our cities. Okay, so it's very important to use your water wisely. Don't waste much food. Buy only what is needed, because there's a huge carbon footprint even for our food these days. From an apple from Africa, for example, or from India going to Switzerland or wherever rest of the world, it's a huge carbon footprint, right? So it's very important for us also to eat local products. So for example, if it's a certain season like mango, have a mango, right? Don't necessarily buy some exotic vegetable or a fruit, because it doesn't support the local ecosystem too. So plant native trees. It's important because native trees are extremely important in terms of even regeneration of the soil. It's also for our insect diversity and diversity all around us. Okay, and you can always be a citizen scientist. You can use your talent. You can use what you have to record the species that you have, right? And you can do that. Whatever you do, you can always be a conservationist. Okay, so the past is written, but we have the futures in our hands. Okay, so as I said, you can be a citizen scientist. What a citizen scientist is, basically you observe your nature around you, you observe it, and you can upload it onto some really interesting sites, which is called the iNaturalist and the Indian Biodiversity Portal. Okay. So in these, what you do, for example, you see a bird, you like that bird. Okay. You can take a picture and then you can upload it into these portals. Same way, if you look at this butterfly, you can upload it. And then it kind of catalogs all of your observations, and it also gives researchers access to where these species are noticed. Okay. And also know that these species are around here, where their location is. Now, you can always be a spokesperson for wildlife, right? You can talk about it. If you visit a wildlife reserve, be a great tourist, right? An observer. Don't make noise. Don't throw your plastic bottles everywhere. Instead of using plastic bottle, you bring your own bottle from home, refill it at different places, reuse that. All this creates a footprint for you. So travel lightly as much as possible, right? Again, you can spread awareness in your communities. We have biodiversity all around us, so that's even urban biodiversity which face challenges. So it's important for us to be conscious of them and help them coexist in our environment. And following green habits, I said, eat locally, choose local fruits, choose a shop that is more eco-friendly, buy vegetables, for example, which do not have plastic covers, take your cloth bag instead of a plastic bag. We all have. Conservationist is basically all of you all can be conservationists. You don't have to be anything particular. Okay, you can be a lawyer and you can be a conservationist, because we do need lawyers in conservation to fight those cases, right? So we do need scientists, we need researchers, but we need journalists also writing about conservation in the right way. Okay, using the right terms and the frame and the terminology. We do need people who write beautiful content, who can show a scientific paper into, like a cartoon. You can be a cartoonist, right? So it's immense amount of ways you can be a conservationist, right? And if you want to pursue a career in conservation, you can always go ahead. But you can just be anybody in any field and be a conservationist. But if you want it, you can do a degree and you can become, a wildlife ecologist, a researcher, and take the next step. But we all have our space to do something. And, I really hope each one of you all take this in through the learning today. And I hope, we can always come back and have a bigger discussion, because as I said, conservation is such a huge, huge thing, which talks about where you have conflict and, where we come together and see what kind of solutions we have to bring up. Okay, so there is a variety of topics that we can talk about. So this is just to kind of talk briefly about what wildlife conservation is and how all of you all can become conservationists. Thank you so much. Just before we go into that, I want to have like a fun quiz time with all of you all. So you can open up on your new tab on your mobile phone. So you go to menti.com and you can use this code. Okay, go to www.menti.com and you can use the code. I'll just put the code in. Yeah, so go to www.menti.com. Okay, you can also go there, right? I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for now. Yes. Okay, everybody has that. Let me know, and then you press your code. Okay. Right, so everybody's opened it. We'll wait for everybody to come on board. We'll wait for everybody to come on board. So just go to www.menti.com and use this code 45720497. Has everybody got it? Just give me a go ahead if most of you all are on board. As I just open up a new tab and then you should be able to get in, right? If you're having any problem, let me know. So let's wait for all the players coming on board. So I hope you've jotted down a fun name for playing the quiz. You only see 21 there. Total we have about 50 or so. I'll just wait for another half a minute till you all join. Just open up on a new tab or a new, a new browser if you like, and then you just have to put www.menti.com and then you put in your code. You will be able to see the same screen I'm looking at, right? Drop it in the chat box if you're facing any issues. Yes. So we're going to have all of you all playing with us. It would be great to have everybody on board. Wonderful. So everybody just open it up and you can see wonderful. You can see numbers growing. It's very simple. Just to kind of have fun. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Right. So remember the answer. If you put your fastest finger first, you get more points. Which of the following Indian states is the habitat of red panda? Tripura, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram. Which Indian state is the habitat of the red panda? If you put it faster, you would be also getting more points. Time's up. Wonderful. Most of you have got it right. Yes, it's Arunachal Pradesh. Let's come to the leaderboard. Leaderboard shows where your points are at and the fastest finger first. So make sure if you know the answer, immediately press it, it adds to your points. Wonderful. Magical Rhino, Love Site, and Sukanya. It'd be nice to know your names. Yes. Let's go to our next one. Question 2 out of 10. According to the IUCN Red List, which of the following is critically endangered reptile species in India? The Indian python, gharial, common leopard gecko, or olive little sea turtle. Which reptile? Yes, it's a gharial. That's right. Let's see a leaderboard. Pratik was the fastest. We have Akimudan and Akshat. Wonderful. So question 3 out of 10. Which of the following was the first wildlife conservation project to be launched in India? Was it the Crocodile Conservation Project, Project Elephant, Asiatic Lion Reintroduction Program, or the Project Tiger? Which was the first wildlife conservation project to be launched in India? Time's up. Yes, it was a Project Tiger, right? In the Indira Gandhi time, they had sat on, and this was the first Project Tiger when the numbers were speaking, that the conservation project was launched. Okay, we have Magical Rhino being the fastest and Montana. Question 4 out of 10. Which animal is known as the ghost of mountains? Is it the Pallas cat, the lynx, the snow leopard, or all of the above? Which is known as the ghost of the mountain? I'm sure all of you all should get this right. Yes, it's the snow leopard. Right. Let's check your leaderboard. Let's see where everyone's leading. All your points, and remember the fastest finger first. So if you are the fastest, adds on to your points. Wonderful. So it's a great way and a fun way to learn what we eat and check our wildlife knowledge. Question 5 out of 10. Which group of vertebrates comprises the highest number of endangered species? Is it fish, mammals, birds, reptiles? So which group of vertebrates comprises the highest number of endangered species? Right, it's mammals. Excellent. So all of you all are very, potential to be amazing conservationists because you all have a beautiful background knowledge of wildlife. Very nice. So I've kept 10 questions to keep this interesting for all of you all. So let's go to the sixth one. Which sense of tiger is mostly highly developed? So which senses of the tiger is most highly developed? Is it the taste, the hearing, the smell, or the sight? Right, it's the hearing. Right? The heck now reading. Now we have the seventh one. Leopards are solitary animals. Is it true or false? True or false? Very simple and straightforward. Leopards are solitary animals. True. Yes, they're solitary animals, leopards, okay? A pride of lions, remember, but leopards are always solitary except during their breeding time. Okay, that's very rare. And a mother with cubs. Let's see with the fastest finger, as well as who's leading us again. Magical Rhino, you're the fastest. The heck is leading, right? Let's go to question number 8. Only one type of bird can fly backwards for a reasonable distance. Which one is it? It's a good trivia question. So only one type of bird can fly backwards. Is it a kestrel, hummingbird, cuckoos, or warblers? Which one is it? Time's up. Yes, this is a hummingbird. Only hummingbirds can fly backwards. No other bird can fly backwards, right? Let's see. Wonderful. Most of you all got it right. Excellent. Good. We're adding up the points in the leaderboard, and we have Jelena, who's the fastest this time. Excellent. Let's go to our next one. Right. Okay. Question 10 out of 10. Answer fast to get more points. Which is the only place in India we find the Asiatic lions? Is it the Gir National Park, the Kalido National Park, Dachi Dam National Park, or the Nandapa National Park? Which is the only place? Time's up. Yes, it is the Gir National Park. That was wonderful. Just comprehensive points we have related. Wonderful. Hakimuddin, you have got the highest points. Wonderful. I hope all of you all had fun doing the Mentimeter quiz. Yes, I'm sorry, the 9th one was not there. Yes. So I hope everybody else enjoyed it. It was just, a great way to learn more about our wildlife. And I hope, as I said, everybody can be a conservationist in whatever area you are or whatever you need. You just have to use the knowledge that you have, make clean habits, clean choices, and we're all conservationists. Okay? If you need anything, you can always reach out to me. I would love to take in any questions. So you can just, if you have any questions, you can unmute and let me know. Thank you so much for allowing me to come today and, speaking with the children. It's a great way to connect. I wish you could all meet, but with the virtual world, this is how it is.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question from the snow leopards. Ma'am, my question is that the snow leopards have a more like soft or more puff-like tail than the other big cats. Why is that?
So the tail also helps them when they, in the landscape that they're at, their tails are very, it kind of helps them balance it out because they run super fast and they also run at different levels. They don't understand straight. So the habitat in the landscape goes down as well as up. The tails are extremely helpful in steering in this difficult terrain. And their hind legs also has great strength. As I said, it kind of helps them, gives them that bounce to go 7 times their height. So the landscape where they are at, if you look at them hunting, it's very difficult for them. So that's why, their body also is designed in such a way that if they fall, they're able to kind of take the impact. I hope everybody could hear me and, the network was okay.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
Perfect.
Good. So are there any more questions? I think then we will bring this to an end. So that's...
Ma'am, may I ask my question?
Okay, go ahead.
Ma'am, why red pandas are endangered?
Geographically, they're found in such a small location. So there are very few numbers because they've been heavily poached. So in Assam side and Arunachal Pradesh, they have beautiful forests, but most of their forests are empty forests, like an empty forest syndrome. They're heavily poached in those regions, whether it's birds or, and it's so close to the borders that a lot of the animals kind of are poached and it's sent across the border for different demands.
It's so sad.
Yeah, they're very
So
small.
sad.
Geographically, they're found in such a small space also. They're not, that heavy in number. And as I said, locals usually know how, it's not easy to find them, but people who have been born in that forest do know how to, catch them and have that. And again, it's a huge crux because as I said, conservation is so complicated. It involves people. People who do live around reserves are not the very well-to-do people, right? So they're usually different communities, whether it's tribal communities or people from a different section of the society, underprivileged in a sense that they don't have access to what we have. And sometimes it's basically a fight for resources. So it's a huge challenge that is there. And it's extremely, to balance it takes a lot. As I said, that's why I said we need people from all walks of life to be conservationists or to give their time into conservation. That's the only way we can at least save what species we have.
So I guess we'll have to close this evening's program, since there are lots of questions coming up in the chat box. I wish we could continue. So maybe another time, definitely with Natasha.
Certainly.
Yes, children, we'll have another time. I know you all have very many questions, but we need to close this evening's program. So on behalf of the foundation, I would like to thank Ms. Natasha Ballal for this beautiful, beautiful interactive section. I was glued to the screen and I found it so interesting, so very interesting. I'm sure the children also found that. I would also like to thank our presenter, Shri Cement Limited and Education for All Trust. I would like to thank Worldwide Fund for Nature for their association. Last but not the least, definitely to the young listeners. We had such an interactive session and they were also interested and interacting all the time, all very well informed. That's something that struck me very much, like very well informed children. And without their enthusiasm, this session would not have been successful. Their enthusiasm as well as participation, it would not have been successful. So stay well, stay safe, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Thank you so
Natasha.
much.
Yes.
Thank you. It was wonderful being here today. Thank you so much, everybody.